Hey everyone, Ed from Elektronik here, and I just want to give a quick update on my Kickstarter for ELKLIK. I'm really excited. We launched ELKLIK earlier in the week, and we've now got just over 50% backed. So thank you so much for your support. For those who have checked it out or backed the project, I really appreciate your support, and it's really exciting. I wanted to suggest 3 different things that ELKLIK can be really useful for, and they're all in regard to relating and interacting with other electronics. So I think that's the main thing I've designed ELKLIK for, is to interact with other electronics so that you can synchronize it from Eurorack. So the first thing that's really useful for is when you're interfacing with other electronics that has a different voltage to what's available in your Eurorack. So a good example of that are the LED strips and the solenoids you might have seen in one of my other videos. So the solenoids are 5 volts. The LED strip I was using is 24 volts. But it's common to get 12 volt LED strip if you want, or you could maybe run some 5 volt LED strip. And so you might ask, why don't you run that straight out of your Eurorack? I suppose you could if you managed to find a way of hooking it up to the power supply. The current available in the Eurorack power supplies is really intended for the modules, and we want to maximize the use of our modules so that we can have more modules in the rack. So the last thing we want to do is pull more current from our power supply than we need to. And so that's what's one thing that's really good about ELKLIK, is that we can interface other things. So to give you an idea, these little solenoids, even though they're just 5 volts, pull about 1 amp each when they're pulled in. And so in my last video where I did with a few solenoids, I had 4 of them, and they chew up some current quite quickly. And they're only pulling that maximum current when they're on all the time, but we certainly don't want to be pulling that current from our Eurorack power supply. So ELKLIK is limited on the relay contacts to 1.2 amps. So you should be able to pull 1.2 amps continuous. And that's rated in the PCB track, and then there's an overcurrent protection. So if you go much further over 1.2 amps, it's going to automatically cut out. And once that overload goes away, if you disconnect it, that'll reset and you'll be able to continue again with something under 1.2 amps. The third application for ELKLIK is using the characteristic of the relay as a dry contact. And that is, there's no other electronics, it's not a MOSFET switch or an electronic switch. It's just a simple dry contact. So physical contact, just like another toggle switch that you might use in electronics. So it's possible to replace things like a foot switch. So anywhere you use a foot switch, you could use ELKLIK and automate that foot switch function. So I've got a few synths here that maybe have a patch change, or you might have an effects processor with a bypass foot switch or a patch change foot switch. And they're good examples of where you could replace the foot switch with ELKLIK and then use your Eurorack to switch that signal on and off. So the 3 applications that I wanted to look at today and recommend for ELKLIK are things with different voltages to Eurorack, things that pull more current than we want to pull from our Eurorack system, and things that have a dry contact closure which we can replace and automate.